Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Nice and fresh. Took a little bit of a break. We're now going to look at CPI year on year. Let's just get cracking. Let's get these filled up, all of these, because this is going, and I keep saying it, but it's true, this is going to set us up for life in terms of putting us ahead of anyone else. We'll be up there with the very best traders in terms of fundamentals, being able to track the data. We want the big 7 for the business plan. Don't forget the business plan. First 6 months, we're just going to be focusing on the big 7. Amazing, right? We've already covered the first 4. We're over 50% done already. We know more. You will now know more about the economy. Way past Bloomberg, CNBC and all that nonsense, right? But compared to your peers, retail peers, I mean, you can already see. It's just chalk and cheese, really. You're going to have, even just looking at these 4 things, fantastic idea of how the economy is performing, beyond anyone else. So you can see that. You don't take my word for it. Manufacturing, we can see is booming. Services, at least at this time, services booming. Payrolls, fairly healthy, right? And an unemployment rate that's dropping, nice and steady. We can see that over here. So the economy is improving. You can see that very, very clearly. Inflation remains a bit of a concern, and that leads us to what we're doing now. Inflation, right? The way that it's reported is not very helpful. Okay, you're going to see why it's reported like this, but it's reported month on month. So we can see that inflation month on month has been, at least the time that I'm looking at this right now, in January 2022. Obviously, when you come to look at it, it could be much further down the line. I just want to make sure I'm not blocking anything. Nope, perfect. So when you come to do this, it could be further down the line, but at this time, this moment, it's extremely elevated, okay? Normally, you would expect, inflation of around 0.1, 0.2 per month. Obviously it doesn't work linearly, but if you times it by 12, approximately around 2% a year, right? The Federal Reserve and most central banks around the globe, we all hear about this, generally like to keep around a 2% target, okay, of inflation. Why is that? Well, we'll talk more about inflation when we do a specific kind of analysis, deep dive into CPI and how to analyze and look at it and what the Fed and governments and traders and all of that. We'll do that separately. Obviously, as I keep saying, this is more about collating the actual data so we can do the analysis, but we don't just want to chuck things on here blindly, or I don't want you to just take my word for it. Like I said, have at least a rough idea of why we're looking at this stuff and why 2% matters. It's a target inflation. Okay, what is it? It's the price. The price index average prices. It's basically prices that consumers are paying, you and I, for goods, right? Now, for an economy to grow, would you agree? Companies need to be making profits, right? For companies to be able to hire more people and for an economy to grow and for therefore people to have jobs and get an income and spend more money, and it's a circle, isn't it? To then make the economy grow more, would you agree? Companies need to be able to charge more for goods so they can make more profit, and so on and so forth. And obviously, without getting too much into GDP right now, it also kind of prevents GDP spiraling, in the sense that there's certain capacity, right? So what inflation at around 2% does is it matches kind of a healthy growth rate of the economy of around 2% as well. We kind of prices and economic growth keeps them around the same sort of sustainable level of around 2%, okay? Now, 2% isn't just made up, it's basically in line with kind of capacity. So what I mean by that, and I know we're talking about CPI here, but it is important I bring this in very briefly. The reason people talk about this 2%, GDP, CPI, it's also to do with capacity. Okay, so if you think of capacity, think about it. For an economy to grow, companies need to make more plant and machinery, right? Capacity, basically. They need to be able to make things. If there's demand, if the population is growing or people are earning more money because the wealth of an economy is growing for a variety of reasons, people obviously unemployment is low, and people are in good working jobs and being paid well, and wage growth is growing well. And it sounds like I'm saying a lot here, but you can see it's a very complicated kind of model of how the real world works. There's a lot of interconnected things, but the point is, if people are earning more money and they're spending it, there's only so many goods that can be produced in a year, right? It's got capacity. An economy has capacity. You can't, to give you an extreme example, if you've got 10,000 items being produced a year, this is obviously just a very basic example, it's going to be many more than that. You can't, and demand goes up because people suddenly start, earning more money or whatever the reason is. The government stimulates the economy, they hand out welfare checks all of a sudden, or they lower the tax rate, or, people basically have disposable income goes up. You can't just go from 10,000 items and everyone's demanding twice as many to 20,000 overnight. You need the machine and machinery to actually create that stuff, don't you? So, end of the day, the economy has a capacity. It can only grow a certain amount without inflation getting out of control. So 2% kind of inflation gives central bankers, like the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the ECB, and all sorts of central banks, a good target to kind of aim for, which kind of balances this whole balancing act of not going over capacity, but allowing companies to, raise prices enough to obviously grow profits to then pay workers. And you can see the circle, okay? So that's where 2% comes from. Now, I may not have described it in the best way there, but we're going to talk about this in more detail. But I didn't want to go into it and draw things, and it would have taken me a time. And we're going to do all of that later, so I don't want to kind of cover points that we don't necessarily need to cover right now. Just wanted to, hopefully you're getting the picture that, obviously the economy has a certain capacity. Around 2% is what history tells us that prices rising is sustainable and healthy, essentially, to allow an economy to grow, to allow companies to make money, to not make price rises so high that it starts to affect standards of living. Because obviously if prices are rising 10% every year, that's going to affect standards of living, right? It's going to become too expensive for people to buy things, and so there needs to be this balancing act, and around 2% seems to be a healthy level that most central banks have found, right? And we're getting into economics here. I'm teaching you to obviously look at this from a trader's perspective. We're not here to argue about whether 2% is the right level or should it be 5%. I don't care. As a trader, I only care what other traders are thinking. Every institutional trader has accepted 2% is the level that central banks target. Who am I to argue with them, right? I'm not here to win the, economics prize, right? I'm here to just understand how traders are going to react to numbers. And at the end of the day, they're looking at 2%. Why do I keep going on about this 2%, right? Let's move on. Because this is reported month on month. The 2% is year on year, okay? Inflation, however, when everyone looks at it, that I see in the retail sector, they're all looking at it month on month, right? This is a month. So you can see recently, we can see headline inflation has been very punchy. Recently we know the Federal Reserve has been under pressure to act in terms of inflationary pressures have been up. But it's very difficult for me to make sense of this, because what does 0.8 mean? What does, let's take another month here, February, reported in March. What does 0.4 mean? That's just 1 month. This number that we all hear about on the news around inflation is 2% this year, it's 5%. is going out of control 5%. That's not the number we see on our data calendar, right? This is month on month. So I actually find it more useful to look at the year-on-year number, but without getting too complex with mathematics. One of the issues is you cannot convert these month-on-months to year-on-years, okay? Because year-on-year, what you're trying to do is you're trying to take the general price level from 1 year ago. So this is November. You're trying to look back kind of 12 months, right? And you're trying to get the price level from this period, right? And compare it 1 year later. How can you do that? You've only got a month-on-month percentage. So the problem is you need the actual underlying price level, okay? What is the price level? We don't have that. It's not given to us because it's just a percentage. So you need to do some work basically. And that's why I never see, and I don't mean to say this in a horrible way, but let's be honest, you know, especially in the retail world, people are looking for easy answers. They're not doing the work, right? And for some reason they want all of this reward, but they're not willing to do the work. You have to do the work sometimes to get these extra pieces of information. And we talked about this, talked about it right at the start on that PowerPoint slide saying edge. Remember, to have edge, you need to be doing what everyone else, these 1,000 people in this circle here, right? You need to be doing everything different to what they're doing. We want to be over here. To do that, we need to start doing stuff that isn't easily available, okay? So I'm going to show you, I do track it, the year on year, okay? I found the data and I've managed to get it, and it's actually not that difficult with a little bit of effort. You just need someone to show you. Obviously that's why you're doing the course, you know. I'm going to shout about it because at the end of the day, I want to obviously make you aware, and you're going to be aware that, you know, it's definitely worth your investment in this course, because I'm giving you stuff you're not going to find anywhere else. No one's going to show you how to do this. So really excited to show you how to do it. So let's crack on with it. So the point being, I'm going to show you how to get the price level, okay? And it's an index, okay? And what happens with with an index is there's a price level. It starts at a base of 100, which represents the price level at 0 change. And then every year the price index, what it does is the index allows us to have a general level of prices. You know, it could be cartons of milk, fuel, food, all the things that feed into CPI, and represent it as one number. So the next year it could go to 102, which is a jump of 2%. The next year it could go to 104, which is another jump of 2%, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the point is this index level, it's not widely reported on, and therefore you need this index level. I need to know what was the index level a year ago, right? What was the change? And it's not, you can't add it like that. It's kind of, it's like almost 104 over 102 mathematically. So it'd be slightly variant, but roughly approximately 2%. But I'm going to show you how to calculate it anyway, but I need this price level. Okay, so I need to know, let's say they normally started, they rebased it, I think in the 80s some time. Let's say a year ago from here, December, it may have been, I don't know, 220 was the price level, because don't forget, since the 80s inflation has grown, right? So the price level would have been going up from 100 to 220. I need to know what the point was minus 1 year ago, and then I can see what the growth was in the price level over the year on year. Okay, and it's the same numbers that I use to calculate the month on month. It's just mathematically, don't want to get into it too much. Honestly, don't worry if it doesn't make any sense. You don't need to know this. You cannot use these percentages to calculate what the price level change was a year ago. You can't just add these, it doesn't work. Mathematically, you need the original price index. You need the actual price level as an index, and the agency that calculates the CPI, they give that to you. And actually, no one showed me this. I figured it out. I found it out when I was working in investment banking. My boss told me, "Good luck. Go and figure it out. I'm not going to tell you," and I did. And I went and figured it out. So anyone can do it, but obviously you're paying me to show you how to do it. So that's what we're going to do today. So you've got two options. As usual, you can either just drag this across or start from scratch. I'm going to use this. Okay, drag it across. There you go. So we're going to make that CPI. And instead of month on month, we're going to do year on year. Okay. That is going to become year on year. Let's change that percent. Okay, so just to reiterate, I want to know how much did the prices change over a year? Is it around the 2% target? So I can actually bring some meaning to this month on month number, because I've really never quite found this month on month number that useful. Now to do that, let's have a look at the data. So do you remember we were looking at drawing the data from here? You won't find it necessarily, and I'm going to show you why, because most people can't be bothered to calculate it because it's a bit long-winded, but I don't know. In my opinion, you can't succeed at trading unless you're going to put some effort in, and it's fine. It gives us an opportunity to have an advantage of people. It's a great opportunity for us to do something that no one else is doing. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the way to do it is I'm going to just move this out of the way a little bit, because I want to bring in the index here. So what we're going to do, as you can see, it's not available here. Okay, so what I started doing, like I said, when I used to look at the year on year, and my boss was a very hard boss to work for, taskmaster, but honestly I'm so grateful. He said, look, good luck, go and figure it out and you show me how to do this. So the first thing I did is I went on the website Bureau of Labor Statistics. I thought, all right, let me have a look. So let's do that together. You can either Google or use your search engine to find Bureau of Labor Statistics, or you can just click here. It'll take you there, or you can use Google, and I've got it here as well. Okay, so you see, Google it, Bureau of Labor Statistics, and then you can, it's all there. Okay, so it's the same thing. I'll take that away now. So again, just to repeat, you can either Google it, or you can just click here, Bureau of Labor Statistics. So that's the first thing I did, is I went to the site, and to be a good trader, you've got to be very inquisitive. Okay, so I'd highly encourage you to do this. Have a look around. They do report other things. You can see here, they're responsible for obviously the unemployment rate, for example. We can see that here. They do report on various statistics. So if you remember, they also do the non-farm employment change. So they're a very big organization. You can find out about them, you can play around, and we'll do this together anyway. You can see here, United States Department of Labor. They're part of the Department of Labor. So national organization, very, very big organization that produce data, collate data. You can find out lots about them. Have a read, history. Be inquisitive, start reading about the history, find out who they are and all of that stuff. And I did all of that. But for this particular exercise, I was searching around. I went to data tools, and I went all over the shop trying to find the things, and I did eventually find it. It was actually not that bad. So I found, I believe it's Data Finder. Let's have a look. No, not Data Finder. Let's go back to, so there's various ways of doing it, right? So either you can click on Data Finder, and then you see here Data Tools. So this was a little bit of trial and error. Honestly, I don't just know this because I'm incredibly intelligent and I'm a genius and I just know where it is. Believe me, this took me a little bit of time playing around, economics releases, looking here. No, it wasn't here, CPI. I actually know maybe that's not what I need. That's not the right format. I don't want that. I want history. Do you see this only goes back 3 months? No, I need a longer history. Do you see this is the price index? 260, 269. Which one do I want? Do I want it with food, energy, all of this? I had to go through quite a lot of trial and error trying to find it, and eventually I did find it. So it was in data tools. You can probably even go through series report, and there you go, click on data tools. So eventually it led me to this page. So there's various ways of getting to this page, where basically you have, I think it's this one as well. So data tools, top picks, one screen, multi-screen. There you go. Okay, so various ways. So let's go back to that. Bureau of Labor Statistics, data tools, top picks, one screen, multi-screen, maps and calculators. That's where they have all their data, you know, going back many years, 50 years, 100 years, I don't know how many years it goes. Then I had to just kind of mess around, try and find the right one. Obviously employment data is something we look at heavily on a Friday as well, but for now we're just focused on inflation. So basically it's this one, right? All urban consumers, current series, okay? Then I went in top picks and data find. I have messed about a little bit with this. Obviously you can do the same and try and find it. I'm just going to tell you, I did find it eventually, and this was a few years ago. Like I said, when I was working in investment banking and my boss said, hey, I want you to figure out the year on year yourself. I'm not going to tell you where it is. And then I was messing about with all of this and I found it. So it's here, I believe, data finder within all urban consumers. So that's everyone, right? All consumers. You can see there's various different kind of sectors and cuts that they cut the data into. I'm interested in the one that's reported here, that everyone sees, all traders are looking at. You know, markets are moving up and down fast. They haven't got time to mess about. They just want the main number for inflation, which is this one, right? So actually, if you remember, the last one that at least I have was the previous month in December. Yours might be, you know, find the latest data. So for me, it's here, 0.8% month on month, this one. What is that 0.8? You see, it doesn't really tell you, like, is it all urban consumers? Is it urban wage earners? So you've got to mess about a little bit. So anyway, it kind of makes sense that it's everyone. So within this all urban consumers current series, click on data finder, okay? You're now presented with all these options. So again, fantastic opportunity for me to shout about why this course is so great, because I am here to guide you and tell you which one is the correct one, okay? So it's always seasonally adjusted. I just know that because I do. I think I read it somewhere and it kind of makes sense, because throughout the year, obviously seasonal patterns can affect prices. So what happens is the BLS will make seasonal adjustments to avoid volatility, unnecessary volatility, and that's as far as I'm going to take it for now. We can talk a little bit more about it when we do the CPI. But I know it's seasonally adjusted. This data that everyone looks at on their data calendar, it is adjusted. Otherwise, these numbers would be so volatile, okay? They're adjusted for seasonality. Makes sense that you would want to do that. And in your own time, you can have a look at the numbers that are not seasonally adjusted, okay? And you will see that they can be quite volatile. So I know it's seasonally adjusted, and I did have a look at both and compare. And like I said, I'm not going to do that. Now we'll be here for hours. I'm just telling you, I'm encouraging you to do that. But there's all these different, you know, dental services, transportation, apparel, shelter. So you can see a lot of work is done by the BLS to bring it all together. They reach out to all these sectors. They get all the data for different prices. We want the headline number first, right? And that includes everything, including food and energy. And then the core is without food and energy. So the first thing is I want to find where is this 0.8% coming from month on month? How has that been calculated? What was the price index that I talked about before? So I can work out year on year. So what I did is, as I said, I know it's seasonally adjusted. And I thought, okay, all items must be that one because that's everything. And then all items less food and energy must be core because look, change in the price of goods and services excluding food and energy. Okay, so fortunately they have done it for us fairly straightforward, but let's do one by one. So first we're interested in everything, the headline, seasonally adjusted. So you click on this, clicked on that, there you go, that's the data. Can you see the index I was talking about? Do you remember I mentioned that many years ago this was rebased, that prices were at 100 and then every year they'd be going up, and it's just like a price index and it might go to 200, and you see prices doubled, and it might have taken about 10 years for prices to double, but This index, rather than having it in a percentage, it just gives it to us in a number that we can compare one against the other. It allows us to compare different periods in time. Using these percentages, you're clueless, yeah? You can't do that. Okay, you need this index level, and that's what this is. Can you see it? At Jan 19, it was around just above 250. Prices steadily rose, prices have come down, and then prices have been shooting up recently, right? So hopefully this is the right index, because obviously we still don't know if it's correct, because obviously there's all different various versions, as we can see here. But I think this is the correct one. What you want to do, the start year, because we want to go back at least 2 years, remember? But I also want to know what the year on year was in December. So I need it to go back an extra year. Makes sense? We're going back 3 years because I need the year on year. I want to know in December what the year on year was, so I need to go back an extra year. So I'm going to need 3 years this time, okay? You can go back as far as you want. You can go back to 2010 if you want, just for fun. Hit update. Okay, so there you go. You can even go back if you just want, as far back as it goes, 1947. Just you know, curiosity. Out of curiosity. There you go. Okay, so that would have, well, yeah, you can see prices have obviously gone up a lot over the last however many years it is. So we are going to go back 3 years for our purposes. That should be plenty. Okay, now we're going to download the data. Okay, so I click on this Excel. That's a CSV file. It's Excel as well. Both are fine. Either should be fine. I click on that one. Okay, there's my data. Okay, it's been downloaded. Click on it. Okay, there's my data. Can you see my data? That's what I need. All right. Now what I do is I want to check, is this the right data? Now can you see it's given me November data, right? And is that correct? Yes, it is. Because even though this was reported on the 10th of December, you know, I've said it many times, it is not December inflation. It's November's inflation reported in December. Okay, so that's why they've got here November. So what I want to do is I want to check that this is correct. Now, unfortunately, they have it going down, right? Can you see going down in terms of the chronological order? And I've got mine going up. So we need to reverse all of this, but don't worry, we'll do that. There's a clever way of doing that, and I'll show you how to do that in Excel. For now, we just want to make sure, is this the right data? So what I do is I check the percentage change using the price level. So to do that, it's very simple. We just want to make sure the month on month is right, that I'm getting 0.8%, 0.9, 0.4. Is this the price series that everyone's data calendar is here when they look at CPI is referring to? Okay, so the way we do that is we do equals 278 divided by 276, right? Which gives us the percentage growth, and then we minus 1. Okay, so there we go. So we have a, so you can either click on percentage there, or you can change the format. Go to percentage, and let's make it 1 decimal place. Do you see that's 1 decimal place? You can have it as many, can you see it actually does give you as many decimal places as you want, but let's go to 1, click OK. So it's a good start. It's telling me that the prices grew 0.8% month on month. What do we have here on the main calendar? 0.8%. Okay, so it's actually the headline, isn't it? So it's a good start. This could be, I could be onto something here, right? Next, I want to see the month 0.9, 0.4, 0.3. This 0.9, 0.4, 0.3. So what I do is I drag this up, and I'm just going to check a few of them. And is it correct? Yes, it is. 0.9, 0.4, 0.3, 0.5, 0.9. Perfect. I've got the right data, okay? So now I know I've got the right data. You can imagine. when I was a young guy in investment banking and I found this data, how exciting it was for me to go to my boss and say, hey, I've cracked it. I felt like I was going to be the next millionaire, but obviously came crashing back down to earth when I realized that I had another, 100,000 tasks waiting for me before any of that happened. So, but it was my own little joyous moment I had. So yeah, it's always nice when you start to... It's nice, right? Because if you think about it, too many people just look at data like this and they just, 0.8. They don't even know what they're looking at. Be honest with yourself. Do you have any idea what that means, the 0.8%? Now you're starting to really understand how professional traders work, basically. The very best is they don't just take that 0.8 and say, yep, thank you very much. They actually want to know, where's it coming from? I'm showing you, this is where it's coming from. It's the actual price index. So basically, yeah, we have the data that we want to use. We're going to drag it across into here, and we're going to be cracking. We're going to have a year on year data, which will set us up nicely to know what the Federal Reserve is looking at, right? Are they going to be concerned about inflation? Are they not? Like I said, month on month is a little bit useless to us. So what we need to do is we need to reverse the order, right? So it is a little bit tricky. You'll only need to do this once. Like I said, once you start updating it, you'll be fine. You just need to enter one number. But for the first time, for the purposes of history, you will need to have this in reverse order, okay? So you might need to just play around with this a little bit. So what we want to do, let's clean things up a little bit. Let's move this chart out of the way. Okay, so we got some space to clean our data up. Let's copy all this data in. Okay. So what do we want to do? What you want is you want, it's the best way to do this. Let's drag all this in. We don't need this year, period, and this is month, okay? It's the way the BLS do it. Month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5. We don't need that. We already know it's Jan, Feb, March, okay? We don't need that. We don't need the year. We've already got it here. So we don't need these first two columns. We just need these two. So let's copy all this data. Okay, copy and paste it. You don't need to worry about the formatting because it's straightforward formatting. Let's paste it into... just thinking, how have I done it in the past? I'm just having a look. Let's paste it into here. Okay, so drag this out a little bit and you just go and paste. Okay, so you've got the data there. One other thing, let's do this to make our life easier later. That's correct. Release monthly, about 16 days, because we already have it. The month on month is we're using the same data. So obviously, the dates are the same. So that is the same, the released period. Do you remember this is where we want to get the data from? Let's put the link, okay? Because every month we want to update this. Rather than us having to go through the BLS website, search for it, find it, and so on. Let's copy the link. Let's make our life easier. Let's just put it here. Paste the link. Do you see the link is there? Okay. Let's type home link. Okay. So every month when we come in, we can just copy the link. Copy. And then you can go into your web browser, paste it in, and there you go. You just have it there, okay? You'll have the page that you need to get the latest number from. There you go, 278.8. All right, you can just copy that and put it in here, and I'll show you how to do that every month. One number, bang, in there, job done. So easy, right? Be a lot easier. This whole process we're going through now is just one time that you need to go through it. So the way that I'm going to reverse this data, don't forget, you see it's going from Jan, Feb, March, April, May. It's going down. We want it to go up, Jan, Feb, March, April, upwards. Because right now, that says December 2021, and I've got, November data. This is November data, but it's down at the bottom. So I need to reverse it. So the way that I do it, you might have your own way of doing it, is I just put the numbers in here, 1, 2, 3. Sorry about this, the formatting. So what you can do, right, let's just make this normal formatting. It's because I had stuff in that column before. All you need to do is just copy that, like that, format painter, and then that. Okay, so we have 1, and let's start again. 1, in fact, let's get rid of the decimal places. Okay, so number, 0 decimal places. Okay, there you go. So 1, 2, you'll see what I'm getting at in a second. 3, 4, let me just make sure I'm not blocking anything. Nope. Oh yeah, I'm nicely in this corner here, aren't I? 4, and then drag this down. Okay, I think you can double click it. If you double click like that, do you see it will just drag it down? Or if I control Z, or you can just drag it down manually, or you can double click that corner. Okay, so I got 59 of them. Now what you do, right, is you select all of them. Okay, select everything and go to data and sort. Click on sort. We want Excel to reverse it for us. So what we want to do is we want to sort by these numbers but reverse them. J. Okay, so sort by column J. At the moment it's smallest to largest. I want largest to smallest. I want it to flip the data over for me. So click on largest to smallest. Click OK. Remember, you'll only ever have to do this once. Okay, just to get the history. Do you see? Now you've got beautiful November, November, October, October 2021, September, September, August, August. Lovely, lovely jubbly, right? Everything is there. Don't forget, we want to go back 1 extra year so I can actually see the previous year. So we're going to go back to back 1 year. So up to there, December. You might be in, for example here, you might be in March. I don't know when this is going to end for you. It could be April, May, June. Obviously go back 1 year, all right? Obviously I'm doing this at a particular moment in time. You know, very straightforward. Obviously just apply the same principles that I'm showing you, but go back an extra year from here. So I'm going to go back to December there. Okay, let's get rid of this. Delete that. I don't need that data. Okay, so let's label this. You can get rid of these numbers now. It was just so Excel could flip the data. Delete. Okay, beautiful. Now I've got all the data I need. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just highlight those two, home, merge and center, and I'm going to put copied from PLS website or data or whatever you want to call it. Obviously you don't have to put exactly what I put here. I'm going to put that in a different color just so I know. Orange maybe. Okay, again, you don't have to do what I do, but that's up to you. Maybe make that bold. Okay, then I'm going to put this in cells. Okay, make all of that one color, I think, yeah. All right, then what I like to do is I like to do a check. Okay, put a cell around that as well, sorry. There we go. Okay, so check. No, in fact, I like to do a check. So to do that, I'm going to do the month on month. Okay, because think about it, I've got the month on month here, 0.8, but I want to make sure that I've got the right data. Yeah, we did the check already, but it's nice to do another check because we reversed the data. Mistake might have happened, something might have happened. So let's just double check. So again, remember, we want to see the growth over the month in the price index equals 278.88 divided by 276.74 minus 1. Okay, now we're going to make that a percentage. Hopefully this works. Format cells, percentage, 1 decimal place, right? Okay, that's good so far. All right, so what I'm going to do is, just to make life easier, is I'm going to copy the formatting. So I'm going to highlight that, format painter, click there. Do you see? Like, that means I've got the same formatting as that. I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste the formula down. So copy, drag it down, paste. Okay. You see, I need to make sure I got the right data. So 0.8, 0.9, 0.4. This is from the website. Remember, we took this earlier from the actual data website. So I know I've got the right data now. You can see why no one bothers with the year on year, right? It's work, but that's why people who do it actually understand the data better, because they've gone through the effort of doing this. So definitely worth your while. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this formatting, okay, and you'll see why I'm doing this. And I'm going to put it here, okay, and now in here I'm going to do check. So equals this minus this. And I want it to be 0 because I don't want there to be any difference between the month on month I've calculated using the information from the BLS website that I'm going to use for my year on year and what I'm getting from the data calendar. Does that make sense? You want to make sure it's the same data. So you copy this down, make sure they're all 0. They're not going to be, and I'll tell you why in a moment, as in they're going to be roughly. So I keep using shortcuts, but I just want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. Copy, right click, paste. Okay. Can you see they're all 0, 0, 0, 0, and then here there's a slight variance. Minor variances are okay. There's a reason for this, and I did find out later, because initially I thought, oh, you know, there's a bit of a variance. What happens is the BLS organization, the bureau, and I don't know, you might have to go and search for this yourself. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. But there is somewhere where I read that this data is revised every year. So after 1 year, so can you see? It's almost 11 months, right? So every year, the BLS, they do go back and they revise this data. Because think about it, what will happen is a lot of these sectors, look, used cars and trucks, medical care, shelter, they'll get more up-to-date information from those sectors and companies and people who are reporting the prices to them. More information becomes available. So they want it to be as accurate as possible. So rather than just leave it, they will go and make minor adjustments to it as new information comes up. That's why you will see minor discrepancies from, you see for 1 year there's nothing, they're identical. And in a year's time, these pricing indexes, they will ever so slightly make adjustments as new information, more accurate information becomes available. So for our intents and purposes, we're fine with that. It's perfect. The data is highly accurate. It's exactly what we want to see. Now, it's time for me to calculate the year-on-year change. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. We're almost there now. Format Painter again. Put that there. Now, the whole point of this whole, you know, how long have we been going? 30, 45 minutes. Year on year, we're almost there. Or year on year. Percent, or you can get rid of that percent because it will be shown as percent. We're now going to calculate the year on year, okay? Finally, you can see why you can't do it based on that. You need this price index. So we're going to do November divided by, see, we need to go back to the previous November. Okay, so I'll give you, do you see that? It's 106.9%, but we need to take away the base effect, essentially. So minus 1, 6.9%, okay? What that means is prices grew 6.9% year on year. Okay, so we do that, enter there. We've now got year on years. Honestly, it's you know, so much more useful having this data. It's going to be much more useful for you. So what we can do, just to create some space for ourselves, we don't need to change any of this because it's all released at the same time. We've got everything we need. So can you see, this is what the Fed is looking at. You know, prices, how have prices been growing year on year versus their 2% target, right? So you can see here, 2.6%, 4%, 4%, 5%, 6% year on year. You see when I'm looking at this 0.9, 0.9, it doesn't mean nothing to me. Here I've suddenly got a number where I can see, wow, okay, we're well above the Fed's target and so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to now put this on a graph, right, which is what we want. So one of the things we can do just to create some space for ourselves is why don't we don't look at all this anyway. Why don't we just move this across? Okay, and we will clean some of this up later when I show you how to update things and so on and so forth. We're going to clean it up a little bit later when it comes to updating. But let's group some of this data together. Let's just get rid of that actually. So data, in fact, if you expand all of this, so if you highlight all of this, click on, maybe we can leave some of this stuff. I'm just wondering how much to leave. Okay, let's just get rid of those 4, because don't forget, we want the core. We've still got the core calculation to do. So let's group that. Okay, there you go. And let's group, in fact, that's enough. In fact, why don't we group more of it? So if I just undo that, so I'm going to hit Control Z, and again, okay, I'm going to group more of it. I'm going to group all of that and hit group. Okay, there you go. So there you've got your year-on-year changes. Okay, if you press that, you'll be able to see everything, right? So it just allows us to clean some of the data and give us a little bit more space. Okay, so we've got that there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this. You see this? There's 2 ways to do that. So what you can do, I'm going to highlight some of this. I'm going to press insert. Okay. Do you see it just pushed it to the right? And it's giving me a nice bit of space now for that. Let me just insert one more. Okay. So you can follow along, do the same thing. Just creating a little bit of space here, basically, for my year-on-year. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to ask this graph to look at this year-on-year data. So I'm going to go select data. Okay, let's remove this. Don't want that there. Add series name, CPI. I'll change that to year-on-year in a second. I forgot to do that. Series values, all of these year-on-years. Can you see? It's now giving me the year-on-years. Click OK. Horizontal axis labels, edit that. We're going to use these. So we got the months. Click OK. And then OK again, and there we go. And don't forget, because we copied this tab before, everything is already in reverse order. If it isn't, you will need to do that. So you need to just go to there. Categories in reverse order, just make sure that is ticked. Okay, so we talked about this a lot before. And that is your year-on-year headline CPI data, right? Which you won't be able to find, basically, on a standardized calendar. Gives you the year-on-year data. You've got it there. You know the Fed's target is around 2%. You can, if you want, you can put a little 2% target in here if you want. I don't really bother doing that, but you can if you want. In fact, why don't we do that? I've never really done that. Might be a good idea. Let's put Fed line in the sand, right, for the Fed. So you can put here 2%. Let's copy the formatting. So if you copy this, format painter, drag it down. Okay, now put 2 there. Copy. So copy that and paste. Okay. So again, source data, select data, and this time add. Right, series name. You can put Fed LIS. I'm not going to bother putting that because I'm just going to assume that I know it. Copy all of that. Hit OK. And there you go. Okay, so you've got this, basically this line there. Okay, so you've got, in fact, let's just be precise and actually edit, give it the name Fed LIS, why not? Okay, we've got a little, let's put 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. 2%. Okay, we've got a little legend up there anyway. Okay, and you can play around, change colors and whatever you want, but there you go. You can see the Fed target approximately 2%. We can see well above target, below target, above target. So you can see basically very, very nice way of looking at how the Federal Reserve might be feeling at this point in time. We're now going to do very quickly the exact same process. Okay, we need all of this, but for don't worry about that data down there. Okay, we need all of this, but for the core data, the core inflation data. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. Let's go and find the data. Okay, so we can do this pretty quickly because we've already done it once. Okay, so at the moment we've got here the data for the headline, right, which is all items in the US seasonally adjusted. Do you remember the core? All items less food and energy. So you click on that. Okay, where did we go back to? We went back about 3-4 years, right? So 2017 for me. Yours might be obviously different depending on when you're doing this. Update. Okay. And then download XLSS XX. Okay, so you've got that. So we've got the data. We will do a double check on the data. Okay, I'm not going to do it on the actual spreadsheet. Just to save a little bit of time, I'm actually going to drag it all across. So what we're going to do is I'm going to copy this. Okay, copy. Close that up, and I'm going to paste it in here to save me having to do it all over again, the formatting. Okay, paste. Okay, can you see? It's already given it to me. The grouping as well, it's done the grouping. Now, just to avoid mistakes, I'm going to remove all the data here. Delete. Okay, I don't need this line in the sand. I've already got the Fed line in the sand there. So we're going to delete that. Okay, so right click, delete. Okay, so I deleted that column. I don't need it. We need this data, don't we? Copied from BLS data for the core. This is for the core. I forgot to change this, didn't I? From month on month to year on year. Okay, so that's year on year. So where is the data? So we've got the data. Okay, here. Don't forget, we need to go through the same process again. So I'm going to select all the data. I need to reverse it, don't I? So I'm going to copy that. So I did press copy. Okay, I used the shortcut Control C. Go over here. Okay, paste the data into a spare space. Paste. Okay. Just going to create some space over here for myself. Okay, I don't need these two columns, so I'm going to delete them. Okay, so highlight the two columns, delete. Okay, I'm going to put a number. Remember, we're going to number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can highlight all of that. Double click the corner. Okay, or drag it down as I showed you last time. Now select all of the data. And then data, sort. We want to sort on that first column there, AM. At the moment it's smallest to largest. I want it to reverse it, largest to smallest. Click OK. There you go, it's reversed it. Okay, I'm going to remove all the numbers. Highlight all these numbers. Okay. We can copy. There's so many shortcuts you can use. I'm sure some of you are more familiar than others though. But I can't use the shortcuts because obviously you won't know what I'm doing. So I'm doing it very manually just so you can see exactly what I'm doing, which is fine. I'm more than happy to do that. I'm happy with this data. Did I copy the months across there? Yes, I did. Okay, so I'm going to copy this data now. Copy. Now, because I've done the formatting, I don't want to straight paste it. Otherwise, it's going to use the same formatting, this white cell. I want to keep it orange. So what you need to do Paste special and click values. Okay, there you go. And we can get rid of what we don't need, all of this down here. Okay, get rid of these two, delete. Okay, so now let's check, have we got the right data? Month on month is coming up as 0.5. If you press F2, you'll be able to see the formula. 0.5 is what we got from the calendar. The next one is 0.6, 0.6, 0.2, 0.2. Perfect, we've got the right data. The check, all zeros. Like I said, there will be some a year back with minor discrepancies. Do you remember I said the BLS will go back a year and they do revise the data just to update for new information that they've had from various sectors that I mentioned to you. Let's just move this out of the way. And again, let's take this, copy, and remember, we're going to leave the link up here, there. Okay, so double click, paste, that's the link, hit enter. So it has saved it as a link, so you can in theory just click it on the link if you want, or you can just remove the hyperlink and just copy and paste it later, it's up to you. I don't really leave hyperlinks on Excel. Sometimes it can cause issues because it's links, external links, and Excel doesn't necessarily like it, but it's fine if you want it as a you know, the hyperlink that was there before, then that's fine. Also, I've just put their link. I'm happy with that data, right? Just make sure you're happy with it as well. It all matches all the stuff I've been getting from here. Okay, can you see that? The core 0.5, 0.6, 0.2, 0.1, 0.5, 0.6, 0.2, 0.1. Okay, so I've got the right data. So I'm going to minimize that. Okay, make that bigger. Go across. Now, for some reason, it may have been the way that I copied the formatting or how much of it I copied. It's done the grouping only up to there, and I actually want this stuff to be grouped as well because it's all the month-on-month data. So what you can do is expand all of this, highlight everything, ungroup it. Okay, now let's just group what we want. So let's highlight all of this, click on group, and then close it. There you go. Can you see they both match now? So giving myself a nice clean year on year. And what I want to do now is select data. Okay, I'm going to add core CPI this time. Series name, core CPI. I'll change that to year on year in a second. Let's do edit series, series values. Okay, wonderful. Click OK. You can change these just to be precise. Axes, labels, just to make them the same. Click OK, and then hit OK again. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You've got year-on-year headline versus year-on-year core. Not going to see that anywhere else. F2, change that to year-on-year. Okay, and that's pretty much all the data. And now one thing you can do, if you want, is play around with the colors. Okay, so you can see, I obviously, this is how I normally have, I don't have the 2% there, but I'm going to add it in now because I think it's quite useful. But you can play around with the colors, and that goes for all of these graphs. Okay, I like to keep the colors, I guess a certain color. It's up to you what you want to do, but for example here we've got the orange on that line. You can change these basically, is my point. Right click on it, highlight it, right click on it, and I believe it's outline. Can you see you can change the colors? So we can have this as how am I going to do it? Let's have that as orange. It's up to you. Obviously don't need to copy me by any means. We can have the headline as blue, and then the core as yellow. That's quite nice, isn't it? So you can see the Fed target there. Can even have that in red or something, you know, just as it's the Fed target. There we go. Or whatever. I'm going to control Z that. I don't like it. Okay, that's better. I like that. So that is now your year on year. It makes so much more sense. You know, this is what everyone's talking about, the year on year. We all know the Fed target is 2%. Where are we right now? Wow, we're way above. Okay, we're at kind of 7% almost on the headline and 5% on the core. The variance, 2%. Okay, so that's it. Really not much more to say. We're going to analyze all this stuff together, but really powerful piece of evidence, you know, just to kind of reiterate what you're doing here, the year on year. If you F2 that, can you see we're comparing November to the previous November, okay, rather than looking at the month on month. We want to see how much has the price index grown over the year, how much have prices gone up over the year. Well, on a core basis 5%, on a headline basis obviously around 7%. If you want, you can double check this stuff, okay? If you want to double check it, what you can do is you can Google CPI. So what I've done here, sorry, let me just do this with you. So I've CPI year on year, okay, I've Googled that. And you'll get them various places. You might be able to find them hidden somewhere on one of the data websites, okay? They're just not widely shown. Can you see that year on year? So this is investing.com. It's the first one that's popped up, obviously. And as I've said many times, my last data goes back to about December 19. Yours may be different. Doesn't actually make that very clear here what is what, but I'm just dragging this to December 19. So that's January 20, so that is December 19, isn't it? So I'm just gonna, there you go, December 19. So there you go, December 19. Let's compare it. Unfortunately, they don't have core anywhere. You do. You've got the whole shebang, basically, but that's okay. Let's just make sure can you see the legend is there? That's our headline CPI, which is what this is. It's a nice way of double checking, isn't it? Can you see? It goes up and then comes down. Goes up and then comes down. It then starts to smash through 2% there. And that's 2%, isn't it? Sorry, that's a terrible line. I beg your pardon. Let me start again. 2%. There you go. Okay. So this is just above 2%, then it comes back below. Just above 2% and comes back below. Then we start to go above 2% there. Start to go above 2% there. And then we go sideways around 5% for a bit. Sideways around 5% for a bit. And then we shoot up towards 7%. Shoot up just below 7%. Just below 7%. Okay, so basically fairly happy with that, right? And you can even see the values on there, okay, so you can check all of that, make sure you're happy with it. I'm basically pretty happy with that, okay, so all the numbers match. You can see here 6.2, 5.4, 6.2, 5.4, okay, so we're bang on. I'm very happy. You like to double check things, just make sure you're not making any mistakes, because obviously mistakes are not nice to make. You want to make sure you're looking at the right stuff. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Can't wait to move on to the next one. I'm going to end it there. We're now going to do quickly retail sales. We've got a couple data pieces to do for the first 6-month business plan. We are going to do all of these as well, very quickly fly through them, and I am going to do them with you. But for your intents and purposes, you know, as you're starting out, really focus on these. You've almost got all of them now. You even got this added bonus, which no one really seems to look at for some bizarre reason. And yeah, that's it. We're done. So we're just going to do retail sales next when I see you on the other side, and then advanced GDP. So see you in a sec.